Exactly, everybody. Update is here. There's a huge news for millions of Americans this month, including the Social Security, SSI, and SSDI beneficiaries, because the lawmakers have finally proposed new legislation. It boosts the monthly benefit checks and may start to go out this month and help many retirees and senior citizens. Eligible people may receive thousands of dollars extra each state per year, everybody. So, nearly 9 out of 10 people ages 65 and older currently receive the Social Security benefits, and the past year has been tough for many of those seniors. And now, as I said, for many of those seniors, everybody, in 2022, the standard Medicare Part B premium climbed 14.5% to $170 per month. That figure accounts to 10.2% of the average monthly benefit paid to retired workers in August, up from 9.6% in August of 2021. It meant that seniors had to give out more of their Social Security checks to cover the cost of medical care this year. And not only that, but the 5.9% COLA, which was enacted last year, failed to cover to the rising cost of Medicare premiums. It also failed to keep up with inflation in general. Retirees have seen their benefits stretched in by the rapidly rising prices of food, gas, electric, and other necessities. Throughout the year, in fact, the Senior Citizens League estimates the average Social Security benefit has actually fallen short of what it can actually provide for. Fortunately, seniors are on pace to see a monster increase in 2023 for the COLA. Social Security beneficiaries are less than 2 weeks away from huge announcement. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics is scheduled to release its September inflation report on October. At that point, the SSA will have all the data it needs to calculate the COLA for next year. And the Senior Citizens League estimates that the 2023 COLA will clock in at around 8.7%. The Committee for Responsible Federal Budget says that the COLA for next year will probably be closer to 9%, maybe even 8.5%. In either case, that will represent the largest COLA in the last 4 decades. Regardless of where next year's COLA falls, there's nothing you need to do to receive it. If you're already receiving Social Security benefits or SSI, your payments will automatically increase starting in January. Social Security benefits, however, can go a long way in retirement. It is important to stay up to date with the latest changes to the program. Many older Americans say they're cutting back on basics like food and medicine in order to stay afloat, and according to surveys from the Senior Citizens League, the pinch is even more extreme for those who rely on Social Security as their sole source of income. Given that the average retirement benefit everybody has actually increased to 5.9% this year for 2022 to around $1,700, it's failing to keep pace with annualized inflation that has topped 8%. And one Social Security and Medicare policy analyst at the Senior Citizens League told reporters, "I've been cautioning everybody about taking about improvements in buying power. Experts have also expressed concerns by the most recent uptick in gas prices, with costs at the pump rising nearly 10 cents a gallon. Now, heating and electric bills are also expected to jump this winter, with the average household paying about 17% more to heat their home properly. And now, winter heating costs can reach a 10-year high of about $1,200 a home. That's very out of control. And according to new census data, which was released last year, the ranks of poor seniors swelled by almost 11 and almost a million, or an increase of a 0.4 percentage point, while child poverty and adult poverty was also unchanged. Even before the crisis, though, Social Security benefits fell short of covering essential costs across the nation. We all knew that. And according to research published in 2021, the typical benefit covered around 70% of the cost of living for a single senior renting their home and 81% for an older couple. It's a serious problem for millions of seniors who rely on Social Security as their major source of income. About 25% of seniors draw roughly 90 cents out of every dollar of income from the program, and that's not a lot. It means that a lot of people are suffering right now, and it definitely means that more stimulus needs to be handed out.
Allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices is good for patients, good for families, and good for taxpayers. It is good for us as a country. For Americans who've long been suffering from skyrocketing drug prices, the Inflation Reduction Act delivers solutions. We faced a fight. In the 12 months before we passed this landmark bill, Big Pharma spent over $57 million on advertising campaigns to stop it. So far this year, the industry has spent more than $187 million on lobbying. Big Pharma fights tooth and nail to prevent Medicare from negotiating fair prices because it wants to line its pockets with our taxpayer dollars. Congressional Democrats and President Biden said, enough is enough. We stood up to special interests, and we put people first. Every single Republican in Washington voted against patients, against families, and against taxpayers. In the Senate, Republican politicians voted to limit how much Americans can save on prescription drugs and to prevent all patients from getting insulin. And House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy has vowed that next term it's his priority to return Big Pharma's unchecked power to charge patients whatever it wants. That is a slap in the face to California families who are grappling with high costs. House Republicans are more interested in pointing fingers about inflation than they are in delivering solutions. Here is the stone-cold truth. Corporate greed worsens health outcomes, rips off taxpayers, and threatens our capitalist economy. Capitalism relies on competition, on price transparency, and on consumer choice. Big Pharma has unfairly crowded out competitors. The industry has inexplicably set ridiculous launch prices and blocked cheaper options. And patients, they have no choice when they need to take these medications to survive. Drug price negotiation restores accountability to this broken market. You can stand with Big Pharma, or you can stand with families. You can stand with drug company executives, or you can stand with taxpayers. You can stand with corporate special interests, or you can stand with capitalism. Let me tell you where I stand. I will always put families first, fight for taxpayers, and work to strengthen our capitalist economy. You have my word. Now, I am honored to introduce someone who is no stranger to the fight against Big Pharma, my friend, Susan Meyer.
I'm good. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name, as Congresswoman said, Susan Meyer.
Folks, do you think that President Biden can do all that it takes to send the fourth stimulus check? Tell me what you think in the comments below. We have a ton of good news about the fourth stimulus check, everybody. Social Security benefits, SSI, and SSDI. Continue watching this video because you definitely don't want to miss out on this. The Social Security Administration has released a new announcement on monthly benefit payments. Seniors and SSI beneficiaries can expect to receive a big benefit increase very soon. And now we have a very big update for all Social Security beneficiaries. An official with the SSA said seniors and others who rely on the benefits program are likely to receive a COLA, closer to 8% at the end of the year due to the current rate of inflation. That increase, everybody, would represent the biggest COLA since 1981. The average monthly Social Security check is about $1,700, which means beneficiaries could see an increase of $132 per month as early as 2023, bringing the average check to about $1,700. The agency's monthly Social Security check is around $1,700, which means beneficiaries could see an increase of $132 per month in early 2023. The 69 million Americans who collect Social Security get a 5.9% COLA increase in January. It was the biggest bump since 1982, but inflation has raced far ahead of that number this year, hitting 8.3% in April. CPIW is the inflation index for Social Security, and an expert said that a 3.8% COLA stems from the 2022 Trustees Report, which was released on last week and predicted that the program would boost benefits by 3.8% at the end of 2022. Economists think inflation will ease later this year as the Federal Reserve continues to raise interest rates to dampen demand from consumers and businesses. For now, it remains red hot. And the SSA bases its COLA adjustments on a basket of goods and services called the CPIW. The agency will make its official COLA announcement in October, basing that decision on the previous 3 months of inflation data.
As you know, President Biden recently wrote a Wall Street Journal op-ed that tackling inflation is the, quote, top economic priority. And I think that's a welcome development for the president to acknowledge that inflation's a problem. It wasn't that long ago that President Biden and his top economic officials were claiming the extraordinary increase in Americans' cost of living was merely transitory. I know you've responded to some questions on this subject already, but do you still view inflation, which remains near a 40-year high, as transitory, or do you expect an extended period of raised inflation?
Well, when I said that inflation would be transitory, what I was not anticipating was a scenario in which we would end up contending with multiple variants of COVID that would be scrambling our economy and global supply chains, and I was not envisioning impacts on food and energy prices we've seen from Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So, as Chair Powell indicated himself, both of us probably could have used a better term than transitory. There's no question that we have huge inflation pressures, that inflation is really our top economic problem at this point, and that it's critical that we address it. So I do expect inflation to remain high, although I very much hope that it will be coming down now.
And the president's budget on that point projects inflation at 4.7% for 2022, which seems to be an entirely unrealistic assumption given that inflation the first half this year has been well above that rate. Has the administration's 4.7% inflation assumption proved accurate for 2022, or should that number be revised higher?
Well, we're in the process of producing a new forecast for the mid-session review. The numbers aren't locked in, but it's likely to be higher.
Well, hopefully we won't have to wait long for that, right? I mean, when does that review come out?
I'm not sure what the date is.
So